and gentlemen, the founder and president of the Museum of Broadcast Communications and the host of Beyond the Beltway, Mr. Bruce Dumont.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us. On behalf of the Board of Directors of the Museum of Broadcast Communications, let me welcome you to the 1999 Radio Hall of Fame induction ceremony. Our broadcast tonight will begin in a few minutes at 9 o'clock. It is sponsored for the 4th consecutive year by Sears. Sears has been with us at the core of our expansion over the past 4 years, and to Perry Ann Grignon and Ron Culp, we offer a sincere thanks. Now let's applaud for Sears. Thank you very much. Another longtime supporter has been American Airlines, which provides not only strong financial support but first-class service, and the Radio Hall of Fame is proud to have American Airlines on its team. And Mary Frances Fagan, thank you very much. This year has been an important one for us because we have just completed a $150,000 renovation project in the Radio Hall of Fame. And our reception tonight was held in the gallery and studio, where thousands of visitors each year will come to see and hear the story of radio. Leadership support for that renovation came from Tom and Bob McNeil, whose father hosted Don McNeil's Breakfast Club for 35 years on the ABC radio network. American Airlines chipped in, the Illinois Bureau of Tourism tipped in, and also Angel Harvey topped that off with a personal gift of $50,000. And America now has a first-class Radio Hall of Fame. Congratulations and thank you to you all for your leadership gifts. Tonight is also important in the history of the Radio Hall of Fame in that we introduce our first product in our Radio Hall of Fame line of merchandise, collector trading cards. You have them at your table. Please grab one and pass them around. And it is designed to teach young and old alike about the history of radio and introduce them to the men and women, many of whom are in the hall this evening, the men and women who helped create radio in America. Each card promotes our newly crafted Radio Hall of Fame website, which is streaming this induction ceremony around the world. And to a new member of our team, Justin Gordon, he has done a tremendous job as our new Director of Multimedia Relations. At each of your tables, you have those trading cards. Be sure to take your packs with you. And if you would like to buy collector packs for your friends and neighbors, feel free to do so. At this particular time, we have many dignitaries in the room, as we usually do, and I would like to recognize a few of them. A member of the Radio Hall of Fame Steering Committee and the president of AM/FM Networks, David Cantor. David, thank you very much. Another steering committee member, the Chief Operating Officer of CBS Radio, John Guerin. The president of Premier Radio Networks, Craig Kitchen. Craig, thank you very much for making your appearance here this evening. Nice to have you with us. The president of NBG Radio Networks, Mr. John Holmes from Portland, Oregon, joins us. The president of the country's fastest growing station group, Marathon Media, Chris Devine. Chris, nice to have you with us this evening. Each year, the Radio Hall of Fame sends out over 5,000 ballots to determine who is inducted each year. That selection process, which includes radio lovers from coast to coast, since 1992 has been overseen by one of the country's leading firms in the public accounting field, Altshuler, Melvoin, and Glasser. Here to explain those rules, Gene Smeltzer and Paul Dillon.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. For the 8th consecutive year, Altshuler, Melvoin, and Glasser, formerly Checker, Simon, and Rosner, a unit of American Express Tax and Business Services, is honored and privileged to serve as the supervisor of elections to the Radio Hall of Fame. We congratulate those distinguished broadcasters who are being inducted into the Radio Hall of Fame on this special evening. I want to introduce my colleague, Gene Smeltzer, who is substituting this evening for Susan Menelates, the partner in charge of our accounting standards and quality control who will explain the nomination and election process. Jean?
Altshuler, Melvoin, and Glasser supervised the mailing of 4,780 ballots on May 11, 1999. Each mailing contained a Radio Hall of Fame ballot, a return envelope addressed to Altshuler, Melvoin, and Glasser, a description of the nominees, and a cover letter. We assigned numerically sequenced identification numbers to each ballot and return envelope to maintain control of return ballots. We received and counted the votes recorded on the ballots returned to Altshuler, Melvoin, and Glasser, and summarized the results in a report to the Radio Hall of Fame Steering Committee. Representatives of Altshuler, Melvoin, and Glasser were also present at the Radio Hall of Fame Steering Committee meeting in August for the ratification of the vote of the 1999 inductees into the Radio Hall of Fame.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and have a great evening.
In the next hour, we will welcome 6 new inductees into the Radio Hall of Fame. And in the room tonight, there are several past inductees, and I would like them to stand for a bow for a moment. First, the man who helped define radio in the 20th century from ABC, Paul Harvey. Paul? Joining Paul at his table and also in the Hall of Fame, Lynn Angel Harvey. The most listened to talk show host of all time and a man who you will hear from shortly, Rush Limbaugh. Welcome back to Chicago, Rush. The man who helped put Rush Limbaugh into radio's big leagues, Ed McLaughlin. The voice of the Detroit Tigers and the American League playoffs on ESPN, Ernie Harwell. And with us tonight is the widow of a great Radio Hall of Famer, Pat Brickhouse. To make our first induction tonight off air, we welcome another Radio Hall of Famer, the man who was responsible for keeping the flame of radio's golden era alive, who next year will celebrate his 30th year in broadcasting. Ladies and gentlemen, Chuck Shaden.
Thank you very much. This is a privilege. Gale Gordon was one of the most highly regarded actors in the golden age of radio. Born in New York City in 1906, he began his radio career as a dramatic actor on such programs as Flash Gordon, Gangbusters, Death Valley Days, Big Town, Mr. District Attorney, and scores of other dramas. But he had a flair for performing comedy, and he took his work seriously. For 15 years, he was Mayor Latrivia of Wistful Vista in the classic Fibber McGee and Molly series, on which he was famous for getting tongue-tied and inevitably blowing his top. Indeed, Gale Gordon was one of the most famous top blowers on radio. With Lucille Ball on My Favorite Husband, he played a short-tempered bank president. And on Eve Arden's popular Our Miss Brooks, he was the ever-frustrated Osgood Conklin, principal of Madison High School. With Phil Harris and Alice Faye, he was their long-suffering sponsor, Mr. Scott, of the Rexall Company. And on the Burns and Allen Show, he was a wealthy Texan. He was one of the foremost supporting comic actors on radio. Then he easily moved to television, where he continued his Osgood Conklin role on the video version of Our Miss Brooks, appeared in dozens of other series, and found a home opposite his former radio co-star Lucille Ball in many of her TV outings. Gale Gordon died in 1995 at the age of 89 and left a legacy of hundreds of Hall of Fame-worthy performances.
Miss Brooks, what are you people doing here?
Trying to help make both ends meet, Mr. Conklin.
What both ends?
Your both ends.
When we found out you were fired, sir, we
Fired?
I'm up for the most important job of my career. And the president of the Board of Education is standing in my living room right now, up to his neck in underwear.
We only wanted to raise enough money so you could feed your family.
Shut up! Miss Brooks, while I'm composing myself, I want you to go into that living room and tell Mr. Stone you're completely to blame for this outrage.
Me? But how can I?
I don't care how. Just do it. Because if I don't get this promotion, you'll never get me out of your hair. Now, Marge!
Yes, sir.
I'm hungry.
Well, let's get a waiter. Here comes one. May we have oh, well, here's another one. Waiter, are you Well, I'll get this one.
I'll lay 3 to 1.
Waiter, if you don't mind, we'd like some,
Reminds me of an inscription I once saw on a waiter's tombstone. It said, St. Peter finally caught his eye.
Our food was all right, but in some of the officers' messes, they had...
Some of the what, Latrivia?
In some of the officers' messes, they had...
Isn't that just sour grapes, Mr. Mayor?
Isn't what just sour grapes, Mrs. McGee?
The fact that you weren't allowed to eat with the officers don't give you any right to call their food a mess, does it?
It is not sour grapes. Mess is the correct term for the officers' dining room.
Well, even sweet grapes can make quite a mess, I'll say that.
Yeah.
But you'd think the officers would be a little more fussy than to make a mess in their own...
They didn't make a mess. It was a mess.
Well, who made it?
It's always a mess. I mean, in the service, the eating quarters are always a mess. Because...
Now, just a darn minute. Just because you're in civics...
You listen to me, McGee. You're always getting me into one of these verbal brawls, but by George...
Hey, where are you going, Latrivia?
Down to the post office, McGee. If I'm not back here for dinner, I'm re-enlisted!
The Radio Hall of Fame is proud to induct Gale Gordon, and I accept this on his behalf. Thank you.
My final announcement tonight is to remind you all to stick around after the broadcast. It will end at 10 o'clock for dessert and also for our raffle drawing. Someone tonight is going to win 2 first-class round-trip tickets to anywhere in the world, courtesy of American Airlines. So be sure to buy your tickets right up until about 10:30 when we will have our drawing, and then it will be Dancing to Midnight to the Georgia Francis Orchestra. Danny Raskuska is your floor director tonight. We want to make sure that everyone listening from coast to coast thinks there's 1,000 people in the room tonight. So when the applause lights go down or when you hear the name mentioned of someone that is especially near and dear to your heart, be sure to whoop it up quite a bit. And now on with the show. Our announcer for tonight is a man who fills the nighttime air from coast to coast on the Westwood One Radio Network. Please welcome Jim Bohannon.
And we welcome you to Chicago tonight, which has just been purchased by Clear Channel. Milwaukee will be an LMA. I am indeed Jim Bohannon from Westwood One, Infinity, CBS, Viacom, Mutual, NBC, TransStar, Unisar, Guatemala, Australia, and the planet Mars. Now then, we meant what we said about enthusiasm, so let me ask you, are you ready for some radio? Well, a few of my rowdy friends are here on Saturday night. Now, when we introduce celebrities, or even people who think they are, I want you to please sound like Larry King's ex-wives after he signs a new contract and the alimony is readjusted. Put some enthusiasm behind it out there, all right? And for those of you who might be making presentations, I would point out to you that in the past we have had a few people who, shall we say, transgressed on their time limit, people who shall remain Jerry Williams, among others. So get ready. We're just a few seconds to airtime, so stand by. We're going to have a great program tonight. Chicago, it's radio's biggest night, the 1999 Radio Hall of Fame induction ceremony. Tonight, the Radio Hall of Fame inducts one of radio's first and brightest stars, Kate Smith, one of Boss Radio's original boss jocks, Robert W. Morgan, San Francisco news anchor Jim Dunbar, America's favorite problem solver, Bruce Williams, and Los Angeles legend, Rick Dees. We'll also pay tribute to radio's role in carrying America through World War II, and we'll recall #1 songs of the 20th century. To make our inductions, we welcome Rush Limbaugh, sportscaster Ernie Harwell, broadcast executives Mickey Luckoff and Ken Lowe, and Bruce Dumont, president of the Radio Hall of Fame. Tonight's program is brought to you by Sears, the good life at a great price, guaranteed. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our Master of Ceremonies, returning for his 5th year from AM/FM radio networks, the King of the Countdowns, Hall of Famer, K.C. Kasem.
Thank you much, Jim Bohannon. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you. Welcome to an hour celebrating the best in radio, pioneers who shaped radio, and contemporary stars who have helped keep radio in the forefront of this American century. Now, as we count down the days to the millennium, we note that radio isn't quite 100 years old. It was first heard back in 1906. By the late 20s, it was a major part of American lives, but radio was never more vital than in the early 40s. We'd grown accustomed to going to our living rooms and turning on the radio for entertainment, for information, and for news. But now, in addition, we tuned in to hear about a war. We heard foreign correspondents, and we heard the voices of Franklin Delano Roosevelt and Adolf Hitler.
78.000, jetzt sind es 30.000, 104.000, 137.000 und heute 214.000. America hates war. America hopes for peace. Therefore, America actively engages in the search for peace.
As Hitler's war spread to France and Great Britain, we came to know and rely on a CBS reporter named Edward R. Murrow, who filed his stories and musings from London, which was under attack from German bombs.
London, as usual, is black tonight. One gets accustomed to it, but it can hardly be called pleasant. I don't know how you feel about people who smoke cigarettes, but I like them, particularly at night in London. That small, dull red glow is a very welcome sight. It prevents collision and makes it unnecessary to heave to until you locate the exact position of those vague voices in the darkness.
On December 7th, 1941, after Japan bombed Pearl Harbor, President Roosevelt asked Congress to declare war, and he promised to defeat the Japanese Empire.
No matter how long it may take us to overcome this premeditated invasion, the American people in their righteous might will win through to absolute victory.
By now, President Roosevelt had become a friendly father figure to many Americans. His radio reports to the nation became known as fireside chats. At one point, FDR was voted radio's most popular personality, and another voice was also making its way into America's heart.
Put your dreams away for another day.
With Allied forces battling Japan, Germany, and Italy, radio personalities and singing stars joined in the war effort. Those not drafted entertained those who were. They did shows on shortwave radio, at USO clubs, and overseas. Special recordings called V-discs featured stars such as Frank Sinatra, and they were shipped to the soldiers' barracks to offer them a reminder of home. Here at home, The radio network created programs such as Millions for Defense to sell war bonds. Many programs encouraged Americans to collect scrap rental and to cooperate with the rationing of food. Among other sacrifices, ironically, was radio itself. Production of radio sets was halted during the war, but Sinatra sang on.
Then I'll have the right.
On April 12th, 1945, radio announcers wept as they told America of FDR's death. And they rejoiced on August 14th when CBS' Bob Trout gave the world the best news possible.
The Japanese have accepted our terms fully. That is the word we have just received from the White House in Washington, and I didn't expect to hear a celebration here in our newsroom in New York, but you can hear one going on behind me. The Japanese have accepted fully the surrender terms of the United Nations. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of the Second World War.
The war was over. There were many heroes, including tonight's first inductee into the Radio Hall of Fame. To tell you about her, we're proud to have a fellow Hall of Famer, best known as the play-by-play broadcaster for the Detroit Tigers, a songwriter and a man who served 4 years in the Marines during World War II. Please welcome Ernie Harwell.
Thank you, Casey. Kate Smith was the voice of America. Born in 1907 in Greenville, Virginia, Catherine Elizabeth Smith became America's songbird in the 30s and 40s through the power of radio. Through radio, Kate sang songs that became hit records. Through radio, she became a star for 5 decades, half of this American century. And through one song, God Bless America, she became truly a singing statue of liberty. But it wasn't because of radio, records, or TV that Kate Smith became one of this country's most beloved entertainers. It was because of Kate herself. Her parents weren't happy with Kate's ambition to be a Broadway singer, but when she landed a role in a New York musical, they supported her. Kate soon learned that that role was that of a buffoon. She was a chubby girl, and the show exploited her. However, she worked through that humiliation. She found success on records and at the Apollo Theater. In 1931, she was a smash with her own show on CBS. Soon her theme song, When the Moon Comes Over the Mountain, was #1. Later, her rendition of God Bless America stirred our country with such fervor that many suggested Kate's song should replace the Star-Spangled Banner. Through radio marathons during World War II, Kate Smith sold more than $600 million in war bonds. She was a national hero. When Kate died in 1986, she was still a hero, still America's songbird.
The Kate Smith Show. How do you do? This is Ted Collins introducing America's most beloved personality. Now here she is, Kate Smith.
Hello, everybody. Now let's get on to the music. My first song is Just in Time.
Just in time, I found you just in time. Before you came, my time was running low.
For all you soldiers, sailors, and Marines who've asked for her again and again, here's Kate Smith.
Say I love everything that you do.
It's high noon in New York and time for Kate Smith.
This is Invasion Day, Liberation Day. Here at home, we sit beside our radios, eagerly hanging on each word of news that flashes across an ocean around the world. We're filled with a conflict of many emotions, fear, excitement, and hope. But these emotions will not help those whom we most desire to help. They will not carry our brave fighting forces forward unless we harness those thoughts and guide them and use their power to forge an invincible weapon against the foe. Wherever you are at this moment, whatever you are doing, join your prayers with mine. A prayer for victory.
The Radio Hall of Fame is proud to induct Kate Smith.
To honor the memory and music of Kate Smith, we present Miss Janet Keeler. To the Radio Hall of Fame from Chicago.
I tell you, today's topic is primitive man, tools in the holidays. See, since the Neanderthals, men have been fascinated by tools. It's part of their DNA. So why fight it? Just go to Sears.com. Got thousands of tools from the top brands. Then you can order anytime, like when he's in the shower. The best part is when he unwraps that shiny new tool. We're talking serious gratitude, like, I'll do the dishes, honey, kind of gratitude. So remember, tools from Sears.com. Sears, a good life at a great price. Guaranteed.
So you're back in your brain to find that one great thing for every single person on your Christmas list when your holiday spirit starts to slip. Wait, give them exactly what they want with a Sears gift card. It's the key to a whole store full of choices, from DVD players to lingerie to Craftsman cordless drills, even a Pokemon Pokemart. Pick one up anytime at any store register for as little as $5. It's the perfect choice, a great gift. This is what the good life is all about. The Sears gift card. Give the good life at a great price. Guaranteed. Sears.
Once again, it's time for the Millers.
Say, Ethel, what are you doing?
Surfing the web, Jack.
Surfing? Ethel, you hate to swim.
I'm checking out the Radio Hall of Fame website, Jack. It's the darndest thing, this computer.
Who, what her?
Well, you just go to www.radiohof.org and check out the great radio of yesterday.
I didn't like yesterday. I spilled pudding on my shirt.
Oh, Jack. The Radio Hall of Fame has great stories about celebrities and shows.
And you go where on the who, what her?
RadioHOF.org.
I had an org once. Took a bromo, cleared right up.
Hello, Millers.
Why, Jack, it's Mr. Henderson, our neighbor.
Yeah. Say, Henderson, what do you know about this website thing?
Come on, Jack. It's wicked awesome. It's jiggy. It's the bomb.
I need a promo.
The Millers is brought to you by the Radio Hall of Fame, celebrating radio's rich heritage with an ear to the future. Visit www.radiohof.org. Good night.
The end of World War II coincided with the birth of television. As many of radio's biggest stars fled to new medium, the major networks had to scramble to survive. But it didn't happen all at once. Some shows neatly bridged radio and television. Earlier tonight, in a ceremony before this broadcast, the Radio Hall of Fame inducted Gale Gordon. Radio listeners first heard him in dramatic roles in the 30s and then as a comic character beginning in 1941 on Fibber McGee and Molly. As Mayor Latrivia, Gale Gordon would get tongue-tied and invariably blow his top.
Imagine closing down an entire high school and wrecking a room full of furniture because of a report on some idiot's homemade radio telling of a hurricane 5,000 miles away.
But Gale Gordon is best remembered as the stuffy principal Osgood Conklin on Our Miss Brooks. That show, starring Radio Hall of Famer Eve Garden as the sardonic school teacher Connie Brooks, started on CBS Radio in 1948 and continued to 1957. By the time our Miss Brooks and Principal Conklin left Madison High for the last time, much of the world had changed. Some schools had turned into, as the 1955 movie put it, a blackboard jungle. That film was the first to feature rock and roll. 1, 2,
3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, rock. 5, 6, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, rock. 9, 10, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, rock. We're gonna rock around the clock tonight, break.
It was by no means the last rock and roll we'd hear on the silver screen. Just as radio gave way to television, pop music gave way to a new blend of rhythm and blues, rockabilly, folk, and pop. We suddenly went from how much is that doggy in the window to you ain't nothing but a hound dog. The music and the world was changing. The post-war baby boom brought a new generation of youth in the 60s, and they made it clear that what was past was past. Another war loomed, this one in the Southeast Asia, and many young people wanted no part of it. The debate over the Vietnam War carried over into music. An anti-war song, Eve of Destruction by Barry McGuire, hit #1 in 1965. The next year, The Ballad of the Green Berets by Sergeant Barry Sadler took that spot. Mostly, the kids just wanted to have fun. A search that took many of them to San Francisco.
If you're going to San Francisco.
A few years before the Summer of Love, our next Radio Hall of Fame inductee, Jim Dunbar, arrived in San Francisco. I don't think he was wearing any flowers in his hair, and his idea of getting high was getting high in the ratings. And did he? Let's hear the story from the Vice President and General Manager of KGO San Francisco, Mickey Luckoff. Mickey?
Achieving Hall of Fame status and recognition of your life's work must truly be one of your greatest moments. It's an honor and a privilege to be here and to have the opportunity to have a role in the induction of my friend, my confidant, my colleague, and one fine guy, husband, father, broadcaster, and fellow Michigan native, even though once a year our respective alma maters are bitter rivals. As a programmer, Jim Dunbar played a major role in creating and performing on the format which we all now know as News Talk. In doing this, Jim has led KGO Radio into a dominating position in one of the most competitive radio markets in the country, where KGO has been the most listened to radio station in the San Francisco radio market for close to 25 years. Thanks to Jim Dunbar, his concept, and his unique and versatile programming ability and performing ability, KGO Radio has been recognized by its peers and its public with more National Association of Broadcasters awards than any other radio station in America. It's been an ongoing pleasure to work with Jim Dunbar, one of the industry's outstanding interviewers and performers, who wisely left television to work exclusively in radio, where he made it big. That interviewing talent, incidentally, extends from rock musicians to scientists to the craftiest of politicians. He is the first Bay Area radio personality to be inducted into the Radio Hall of Fame. He is one class act, and oh yes, one other thing. By his own election, Jim Dunbar will leave his daily show while he's on top. Jim Dunbar is also one of the nicest gentlemen in radio.
Swing your partner on the listen to that happy sound. Always easy listening on WDSU Radio.
21 after the hour now, that's the DSU time. Temperature currently 78 degrees. This is Dunbar Mobile Studio. We're here at Mike Purchase Company. We'll be around till 9 o'clock at least. Dispatching Dad and getting the kids out of the house so Mom can go back to bed. Jim Dunbar, Housewife's best friend, and various other cliches until 12 noon with your favorite kind of goodies.
San Francisco.
Dunbar, KGO, I got a terrific idea. Perhaps we could make the penalty on book stealing a little bit more severe than it is now. Not just a little.
Give him a fine.
Not just a little fine. How about this? Why don't we make it a capital punishment offense? And then that way, you see, when we catch one, we could have a book stealer burning.
Growers of
are wasting vast sums of Colorado River water every year. Felt that one coming on.
I did too. Boy, let me know when you're going to do that.
I had a little notice myself. Sorry about that. Right in the middle of the headline.
Good morning, Mr. President. How are you? I'm Jim Dunbar, and I'm just fine. I've got a couple of questions that I hope you haven't heard thus far this morning. Yesterday, it was announced that the First Lady was stepping aside as the administration's main point person on the health care reform. Sir, is this a concession on your part that maybe she was just a little too visible in her efforts to get the health care package through Congress?
No.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Coming back here today, and you'll be singing...
I left my heart in San Francisco.
I can't remember the next line.
I'll never make it in showbiz, Ma.
And finally, a comment. Let me ask you, does watching Fred Astaire dancing with a vacuum cleaner or John Wayne hawking beer bother you too? Sunday night, I'm just about to take out the trash when on comes a digitally twitched beer commercial starring John Wayne. Now, folks, I'm not John Wayne's biggest fan, but he was a guy who symbolized something uniquely American. And now suddenly, here he is selling beer. Stop it, advertisers. I don't care how much you paid for John's posthumous services. I don't want to see symbols of kinder, gentler time exploited just to keep me from going to the bathroom. Fred Astaire was a national treasure, and so in his own way was John Wayne. Figure out another way to keep me stuck to the couch. But let John and Fred rest in peace, please. Jim Dunbar, and that's just my opinion.
The Radio Hall of Fame is proud to induct Jim Dunbar.
Anybody who makes this trip up to the Hall of Fame microphone, I think will tell you it is luck that holds you by the hand. It certainly is in my case. Luck to have this guy, Mickey Luckoff, as my boss. I owe the privilege of standing here tonight to you, Mick, and to my colleagues at KGO, especially co-anchor Ted Wygant. I thank those with me tonight. Program Director Ken Berry. Kenny, I know it was your nomination that made tonight happen. Also thanks to John McConnell, ABC Radio National Program Director, and special thanks to James Spaniolo, Dean of the School of Communications at my old alma mater, Michigan State, by the way, 35-28 over Penn State tonight. Imagine Jim left that game to be with me tonight, and Mickey left the Michigan-Ohio State game at halftime to be here tonight. But most particularly, I thank my family, son Jim III, daughter Brooke, and still the most beautiful woman in any room into which she walks, my wife, Beth. I'm on a leash here, so I've got to speed this up. When I was a little shaver, third grade, about 8 years old, I did something that I have been proud of ever since. Happened in grade school, classroom mischief, 3 of us involved. My 2 best pals and I. Teacher intervened, demanding to know if we were guilty of whatever the transgression was. My little buddy said, rather defiantly, I recall, yes. But me, I bailed. No, I said, and immediately hated what I'd done. I could feel their scorn. Terrible moment. Punishment was harsh, way short of corporal, more sergeantal, I think. 3 whacks from a rolled-up bunch of rulers across the knuckles, and it hurt a lot. Well, my pals took their whacks bravely, and I sat there pilloried on an awful dilemma. But I did the right thing. Walked up to the teacher's desk and confessed, Miss Greer, I said, I did it too. At which point she stopped the class and said, Jimmy Dunbar has just done a very brave thing. He knows he's going to get punished, but he had the courage to voluntarily admit that he'd done wrong. Pretty heady stuff for an 8-year-old, I can tell you. Whereupon Miss Greer delivered 3 of the most devastating knuckle crackers in the annals of the Harvey H. Laurie Grade School in Dearborn, Michigan. They're still talking about it in admiring tones to this day. I don't remember the whacks, but I do remember how proud I was of myself as I returned to my desk with my classmates, pals once again, clapping me on the back. I have a moment to match that tonight. You have made me proud of myself for the honor that you have bestowed upon me, and I thank you.
Just in time for the holidays, it's Radio Hall of Fame trading cards. The perfect stocking stuffer. Check them out at our website, www.radiohof.org. And come visit us at the Radio Hall of Fame in Chicago.
This Sunday?
Is this some kind of joke, ma'am?
Not joke. See, Sears is having a really big sale this Sunday through Wednesday, so I could use the storage space.
Do you know what goes into building an addition that size?
No, but I do know that when I use my Sears card or apply for one, I'll get 10% off just about everything in the store.
Wow, that does sound pretty big.
Tell me about it. 10% off Kenmore appliances, Magnavox big screen TVs, Levi's jeans, Craftsman tools, 10% off just about everything.
I'm impressed, but I can't possibly have it done right now.
Not even if I told you I could get 10% off sale price items too?
I'm really sorry, but Sunday is way too soon, lady.
Oh, well, Monday will be fine.
Use your Sears card from November 21st through the 24th and save 10% on just about everything, even sale price items. Sears, a good life at a great price guaranteed. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Once again, it's time for the Millers. Say, Ethel, what are you doing?
Surfing the web, Jack.
Surfing? Ethel, you hate to swim.
I'm checking out the Radio Hall of Fame website, Jack. It's the darndest thing, this computer.
Who wondered?
Well, you just go to www.radiohof.org and check out the great radio of yesterday.
I didn't like yesterday. I had an orange one. Took a promo, cleared right up. Hello, Millers.
Why, Jack, it's Mr. Henderson, our neighbor.
Yeah. Say, Henderson, what do you know about this website thing? Come on, Jack. It's wicked awesome. It's genius. It's the bomb. I need a promo.
The Millers is brought to you by the Radio Hall of Fame, celebrating radio's rich heritage with an ear to the future. Visit www.radiohof.org. Good night.
Quarter-century, Bruce Williams has been helping solve problems for millions of listeners. He's also the author of 4 books and writes a syndicated newspaper column, Smart Money. In fact, he's working on a laptop backstage right now. To get him out here, we welcome the president of the Radio Hall of Fame and the host of his own nationally syndicated talk show, Beyond the Beltway, Bruce Dumont.
Bruce Williams came to radio relatively late. It was in 1975 that he joined WCTC New Brunswick, New Jersey, after a career in business and politics. But when it comes to the focal points of his talk show, business and problem solving, Bruce was there early. World War II was ending. 11-year-old Bruce was living in New Jersey, and he took note of shortages caused by the war. For kids, that meant toys. So he began creating toy soldiers out of lead pipes, and Bruce was suddenly in business. After high school and Korean War service in the Air Force, he bounced around a bit, went to college, and eventually married. From 1967 to 75, it was politics, where he was elected city councilman, deputy mayor, and finally mayor of a small New Jersey town. After losing a race for state office, Bruce turned to other enterprises that led to radio. He was a natural and soon found himself on WMCA in New York. In 1981, NBC chose him to host an advice-oriented show, and he quickly found his stride and established a different kind of a talk show, more personal than political, and with no screeching arguments, just sound advice. Later that year, while piloting his own small plane, Bruce crash-landed and ended up on the critical list. But within a month, he was back on the air, broadcasting from his hospital bed and eventually from his home, as he still does. Now, Bruce Williams is heard every night on more than 350 stations of the Westwood One radio network.
Pittsburgh, hello there.
Hello there. The question I have for you actually has to do with capital gains. I'm married, and my husband and I own a duplex, but the duplex is in my name only. We've had it for about a year and a half, and we can...
Back up. Do you live in this duplex?
No, we do not.
Okay, strictly an income property.
Right, exactly.
We can sell it right now for somewhere between 15, with a profit. We would probably would make be about 15 to 22,000.
All right.
And my question would be, if you know what the capital gains tax rate is right now.
How much do you earn?
Myself?
Well, it's in your name alone, but you file a joint return, do you not?
Yes.
How much is your family income?
Probably somewhere around, let me think about this for a minute. About 70,000.
In that case, your cap gains rate is to be 20%.
20%?
And you'll have to recapture what little depreciation you may have taken last year. Fortson, Georgia, hello there.
Basically, my wife owns a bar business there, and she owns the building, the business, and the land there. And she wants to add an addition onto it.
Okay.
And that's what she's doing. It's already an existing building that she owns there.
Well, first of all, we got to know what the zoning calls for, all right? Side yards, rear yard requirements, that sort of thing.
Okay, so the zoning.
And once you establish that it's okay, then you're going to have somebody draw you a plan. It doesn't have to be, I don't believe in most communities, a finished blueprint. It may be in yours, but you got to show what you're going to do, where it's going to go, how it's going to be built. Texarkana, well, that'll work for me. Hello there.
Hi, Bruce. How you doing?
I'm doing okay, kid.
I have an unusual situation. What I'm wanting to do is, I have an internet business that I've recently started in the past 6 months, and it's doing very well. And what I want to do is establish my residence in a motor coach, where I can travel all across the country, and I haven't been able to find anybody to help me with this.
I don't know how you can do that.
That's what I was wondering. Can I establish that as a primary home? I can take
no, sir.
Mortgage on it.
Well, you got to have a primary residence in
like a mailbox or...
Hold it. Take a deep breath. Do you have any relatives in Texarkana?
Yeah.
Well, why don't you just make that their home, the residence?
That's right.
Hang a suit up there.
You get mail or whatever.
Exactly so. It's really effectively a mail drop.
All right.
And you can use the motor home as a second home.
Right.
That you're allowed to do.
The Radio Hall of Fame is proud to induct Bruce Williams.
Mr. Dumont, honored guests, friends, and most important, my family. It's really a pleasure to be here this evening, perhaps more for me than for some others. In that, unlike many of my colleagues, I have never coveted television. Indeed, I've had opportunities in that medium, but I've been consistent in turning them down. I've been a radio listener and a host all of my life, and I take joy in radio that I could never find in some other medium. I'm particularly grateful for this honor, given the fact that I've chosen to assume a low profile. Believe it or not, I've achieved some modest success without ever being sued. I've never used toilet talk. I've stayed within the format that I adopted. It's G-rated. You must remember that when we began in 1981, there was only one national talk program that had succeeded, and that was the Larry King Show. When Sally Raphael and I began TalkNet on November 2, 1981, we were truly on the cutting edge. Given the fact that there were so few talk stations in the nation, we made history. We kept the AM dial alive. I've had a great deal of fun doing what I'm doing, and I'm pleased that I've heard from so many people who say because of me, their lives would be just a little bit richer. Indeed, on a couple of occasions, because of what I have said, I have contributed to people living rather than losing their lives. I thank the Radio Hall of Fame from the bottom of my heart for bestowing this honor upon me. I am very, very grateful. We have a wonderful medium. Thank you so much.
Next year, you can vote for inductees into the Radio Hall of Fame. To join us and receive a free set of our trading cards, check out www.radiohof.org and be sure to visit us at the Radio Hall of Fame in Chicago.
Now, besides that, tools, like power drills, circular saws, routers. There's something about a shiny new tool that makes a guy get all warm and fuzzy. It's a primal thing, trust me. And the best place for tools is Sears.com. It's so easy. You sit there in your bathrobe and your lipstick and order a belt sander. So you want to make your guy happy this holiday? Get him a cool tool from Sears.com. Sears, the good life at a great price. Guaranteed.
Timely temporary help.
Yeah, I need some temps.
Sure, word processing.
Heavy lifting. See, Sears is having a huge sale. 10% off almost everything in the store, even sale-priced items, when I use my Sears card or apply for one.
So 20 guys sound okay?
I guess, but they better be strong. I'm shopping for Magnabox big screen TV, a KitchenAid stove, Levi's jeans.
Yeah, I'll send 30. Use your Sears card from November 21st through the 24th and save 10% on just about everything, even sale-priced items. Sears, the good life at a great price guarantee. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Once again, it's time for the Millers. Say, Ethel, what are you doing?
Surfing the web, Jack.
Surfing? Ethel, you hate to swim.
I'm checking out the Radio Hall of Fame website, Jack. It's the darndest thing, this computer.
Who wondered?
Well, you just go to www.radiohof.org and check out the great radio of yesterday.
I didn't like yesterday. I spilled pudding on my shirt.
Oh, Jack. The Radio Hall of Fame has great stories about celebrities and shows.
And you go where on the Who Wonder?
RadioHOF.org.
I had an org once. Took a promo, cleared right up. Hello, Millers.
Why, Jack, it's Mr. Henderson, our neighbor.
Yeah. Say, Henderson, what do you know about this website thing? Come on, Jack. It's wicked awesome. It's jiggy. It's the bomb. I need a promo. Remember, this is brought to you by the Radio Hall of Fame, celebrating radio's rich heritage with an ear to the future. Visit www.radiohof.org. Good night.
Radio has been the most powerful force in turning songs into hit records. It's been that way from the beginning. It is that way today. Tonight we've heard #1 songs from Kate Smith's era in the 30s, from World War II in the 40s, from the birth of rock and roll in the 50s, and from the flower-powered 60s. As we rock and roll, swing and stroll, rap and hip-hop, jive and jive, dance stage dive, and just plain dance our way into the new millennium, here are some #1 hits. Hits from the turn of each decade since the 60s. We begin this countdown with 1970.
Darkness, Jesus, stay away from me. American woman, mama, let me be. Look at my hanging around my door. I don't want to see your face no more.
1980. And on the eve of the new millennium, it's... Santana, and that's smooth indeed. The same word could be applied to our next inductee into the Radio Hall of Fame. He was one of the original boss jocks on Boss Radio KHJ in Los Angeles, where he remained the boss over 3 decades. To tell you about the late Robert W. Morgan, here's a former top 40 DJ who thought of Robert W. Morgan as an idol. But our presenter paved his own way to becoming a star. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome a 1993 inductee into the Radio Hall of Fame, the one, the only, Rush Limbaugh.
Thank you all very much. Thank you. I'd like to say a word about this production. This is one heck of a great show tonight. I'm at Rick Dees' table, and we're having the greatest time tonight. So everybody behind the scenes is doing one heck of a job, and I am so fortunate tonight and so honored to be able to induct Robert W. Morgan. Greatness, real, unique greatness on the radio. He was born to do radio, and not just radio, but morning drive, the star slot, prime time, the part of day that does not belong to television. And that's the spot that he occupied at KHJ, Boss Radio in Los Angeles, also at KMPC, and finally at K-Earth. Robert W. Morgan personified mornings, which he tuned into Good Morgans in Southern California. Said in the book, the hits just keep on coming, I always wanted to be a morning man, but I didn't know if I had it in me to be a morning man. Well, he did. He was born in Mansfield, Ohio, raised in Gallo. He loved listening to KYW in Cleveland and to personalities like Arthur Godfrey and Robert Q. Lewis. At the College of Worcester in Worcester, Ohio, he got into radio through the Jazz Club, and he was hooked. And like so many DJs, Robert worked his way from small market to slightly less small market. Up from Oxnard to Monterey to Fresno to Oakland, finally in 1965 to the big-time Boss Angeles in the mid-60s. Boss radio meant, and it was tough, they didn't let you talk. Liner cards, no music, or no talk, all music, and just say whatever you had said over a music intro. And he said more in the intro to a song than any man has ever been on the radio, ladies and gentlemen. And he said it about things that had nothing to do with the music. He was creative as he could be. He rose, he shined. All the limitations that format placed on personalities, he outperformed the format. Robert W. Morgan, and I am proud to induct him into this Chicago Radio Hall of Fame.
And the Bob Morgan Always Epic Radio Wireless Pistol Set broadcast coming to you in your tubes this afternoon. Hooper rated #1, whatever that means.
Hawaiian Tattoo on KWB, that sounds Waikikis. 60% chance of rain tonight, 19 after 9 with more.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, Robert W. Morgan. 8 o'clock in Los Angeles. Yes, so the Robert W. Morgan Show.
22 minutes down before 9, KHJ. Sneak preview time. This isn't a real thing yet. You think this is Boss? Wait till we really break, baby. 22 minutes before 9 o'clock, this is Robert W. Morgan.
You're organized.
This is Clearwater Revival, Cosmos Factory album. And who will stop the rain? 15 before 9 at WIND. 9:22 in Morgan with Robert W. Can you solve the riddle of the 8 mystery stars? Well, if you can, you're going to win your hike silver dollars, a week's vacation for 2 to Acapulco, and $1,000 in cash. From More Music, King 606 at KFBC. Good morning, team. Hey, good morning, guys. Good morning. It's time for our daily after the game chat with Coach Ray Malavasi, head coach Los Angeles Rams. Coach, good morning. Hey, Coach, you there? Coach Malavasi?
Robert W. Morgan, KMPC.
Welcome to the Turkeys on Everywhere. I'm Robert W. Morgan.
For Summer Gold, this is Robert W. Morgan.
Live from Hollywood, the 15th Annual American Music Awards next Monday, 14 minutes before 7 o'clock. I'm Robert W. Morgan and the Eagles on Magic 106 FM. Robert W. Morgan with music from Hollywood for today's Army. This is Neil Sedaka with Elton John and Bad Blood.
Surprise!
Surprise! surprise.
What the hell is this?
It's a birthday party. Yeah. So tell us, Jack, how old are you today? Tell us the truth now.
You can't handle the truth.
Judge, what do you want on your banana tofu butt cake?
A little chili.
All right, one was chili.
Gee whiz.
Notice a huge cake over here. It's brown. It's got lumpy stuff. What's in that one, OJ?
Fresh fruit, fresh vegetables, potatoes, pasta, cereal, breads made from whole grain, legumes, brown rice, and bread.
The Radio Hall of Fame is proud to induct the great Robert W. Morgan.
Accepting for Robert W. Morgan are his wife, Kelly Morgan, and their daughter, Susanna.
Thank you, Rush. Robert was a great fan, and he would have loved the fact that you were here to present him for membership in the Radio Hall of Fame. He would have been delighted and honored to be included in such great company, having been a radio junkie for years before he had the opportunity to become part of radio history. A few years ago, I think it was 1966, when I was working at Boss Radio, 93 KHJ, a young Robert W. Morgan came into my office and said, "I've just achieved my life's dream. I'm #1 in Los Angeles. I'm 28 years old. Now what?" Had I been psychic, I might have said, over 30 years as the quintessential morning man, entertaining Los Angeles with his wit, humor, and impeccable timing. Robert loved radio and worked very hard at his craft. He always felt he was only as good as his last show. Robert would have thanked Ron Jacobs for his direction and creative genius, Bill Drake and Gene Chenault for giving him a shot at the big time, Morning Drive in LA, and Kevin Gershon, his multi-talented producer and friend, who put together robertwmorgan.com so we can access a little bit of Robert whenever we want to. Susanna and I would like to thank all of you here tonight, Bruce Dumont and the wonderful Hall of Fame, and all of Robert's fans who made this honor possible. Thank you, Chicago, and thank you, Los Angeles.
If you love radio, you will love Radio Hall of Fame trading cards. Be the first on your block to have them. Log on now to our website at www.radiohof.org and come see us at the Radio Hall of Fame in Chicago.
DVD players to lingerie to Craftsman cordless drills, even a Pokemon Pokemart. Pick one up anytime at any store register for as little as $5. It's the perfect choice, a great gift. This is what the good life is all about. The Sears gift card. Give the good life at a great price, guaranteed. Sears.
Hello, Giant Hauling.
Yeah, I need a truck, a big one.
Sears having another sale?
Yep, 10% off almost everything in the store, even sale-priced items, just for using my Sears card or applying for one. Things like Kenmore appliances and Magnavox TVs, Levi's jeans, and Craftsman tools.
How about tires?
Tires, too.
Mind picking up 18 for me?
Use your Sears card from November 21st through the 24th and save 10% on just about everything, even sale-priced items. Sears, the good life at a great price, guaranteed. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Once again, it's time for the Millers. Say, Ethel, what are you doing?
Surfing the web, Jack.
Surfing? Ethel, you hate to swim.
I'm checking out the Radio Hall of Fame website, Jack. It's the darndest thing, this computer.
Who-water?
Well, you just go to www.radiohof.org and check out the great radio of yesterday.
I didn't like yesterday. I spilled pudding on my shirt.
Oh, Jack. The Radio Hall of Fame has great stories about celebrities and shows.
And you go where on the Who-water?
RadioHOF.org.
I had an org once. Took a bromo, cleared right up. Hello, Millers.
Why, Jack, it's Mr. Henderson, our neighbor.
Yeah. Say, Henderson, what do you know about this website thing? Come on, Jack. It's wicked awesome. It's jiggy. It's the bomb. I need a promo. The Millers is brought to you by the Radio Hall of Fame, celebrating radio's rich heritage with an ear to the future. Visit www.radiohos.org. Good night.
Next inductee has done it all. Going from small market radio to national acclaim. To induct Rick Dees into the Radio Hall of Fame, please welcome a longtime friend of his, the founder, president, and CEO of Home and Garden Television, Ken Lowe.
Thank you, Casey. It's a great pleasure to be here this evening to introduce our final inductee. You know, he's not only a fine broadcaster, but a devoted husband and father. I've known Rick since he was about 17 years old, so I can tell you he wasn't always as confident as he appears today. In fact, the first time I saw him on the air in Raleigh, North Carolina, he was about as relaxed as Diana Ross at Customs. But things have changed a lot for this talented, hardworking young individual who, with this induction, receives yet another and maybe the greatest in a series of honors to an amazing career. You know, now that I think of it, Rick Dees needs another accolade about as much as TV needs another court show, but then we are here to salute the very best, aren't we? Growing up in Greensboro, North Carolina, Rick comes from a part of the country where folks didn't have all the things that we're used to, things like traffic, tall building, and teeth. But what can you say about a place where McDonald's is considered a health food restaurant? Seriously, despite his success, I assure you Rick remains the same humble, unpretentious guy he's always been. And if you don't believe me, just ask his wife, Julie, or some of his servants who are here with him this evening. On the air in Los Angeles for over 20 years, Rick is as much a part of LA as smog and freeway shootings. Seriously, Rick Dees is the consummate professional. He's really a throwback to what has made this industry so entertaining. He represents all that's good in life, too. I know, I've known him for a long time. Integrity, respect, compassion for his fellow person, regardless of their status in life. Most importantly, he's blessed with a beautiful and talented wife, an incredibly wonderful son, and he has that rare ability to make us laugh. What more can I say? But ladies and gentlemen, it's my honor to present a look at the career of a man who lives, eats, breathes, and sleeps radio, a true broadcasting titan, a man I've known and respected for most of my life, Mr. Rick Dees.
Now here he is, strong enough to bend records with his bare hands, able to tell tall tales in a single breath. It's Super Dees. Yes, Super Dees.
Hello, Rick Dees here. This is Jeffrey Walker, man. I've been trying to get in touch with you for the longest, man. But every time I call, I get a runaround.
They're giving you the runaround?
All the time, man.
I'm so sorry you've been getting runaround. Let me put you on hold and transfer you to another phone.
Hey, how you doing?
Yeah.
Hey, man, they even give me the runaround, man. I've been trying to get to you, man. I want to talk to Rick.
Let me put you through. Have you talked to Rick Dees?
Well, I want to talk to Rick Dees right now. If I can, I've been trying to get to him. I've been getting all kind of runarounds.
We don't give people the runaround. I'm sorry there's been a problem. Hold on just a second. We'll put you through to the president in charge of that.
All right.
Rick Dees, yes, can I help you?
Rick, is this you, Rick?
Yeah, I've got to go back on the air. I'm sorry.
But Rick!
Lock it in. Touch it.
Here we go. Stand by for action. Kiss. Thank you for calling the Rick Dees Information Hotline with a complete list of Rick Dees TV appearances. 1984, The Love Boat. 1996, Diagnosis Murder. 1984, The Love Boat. 1996, Diagnosis Murder. 1984.
All right.
The Love Boat.
Let's do it. Let's rumble. Rick Dees, what is this bullshit? Who is Rick Dees?
It's time for Candid Phone.
What I'm hearing, Mr. Green, is that you want just the basic cable hookup plus maybe a couple of add-ons.
No, not no plus shit. Just a basic hookup, man. You know, and I've been waiting on this for the longest. Now, when y'all gonna hook up the cable?
You're upset, Mr. Green, and for no reason at all. I'm just trying to...
I'm upset because you keep coming with this Mickey Mouse shit. I don't need that. I just need the basic hookup, okay?
What I'm hearing is that you may need the Playboy channel.
I don't need that. Just give me the basic hookup. Can you do that? Rick Dees in the morning.
Watson, come here. I need you. Hold on, Watson. I got another call.
On 102.7 Kiss FM.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Radio Hall of Fame is proud to induct Rick Dees.
Thank you, Ken. Thank you, Casey. Thank you, everybody. What a great night. I mean, this is such an unexpected pleasure. I thought I'd be old and have a prostate the size of a cassava melon if this ever happened to me. I'd like to thank my mom. She's not here. You know, you can't compete with wrestling on Saturday night. My son, everybody's been recognizing their family, and I feel so great. Jim Dunbar, great family and everything. My son's not here. He wasn't caller number 102. But it's a great honor. I just have to say, first of all, to all the people at Clear Channel, thank you so much for all you've done. Ellen Kay, a wonderful, wonderful person on the air. Paul Joseph, great producer. My sister is here, though. Pat Krebs and her husband, Don, thank you so much for coming all the way in from Atlanta. Thank you. And the greatest cast in the world for a radio show. I just cannot thank you enough for what you've done to put all this together that we have. The Mays family, Randy Michaels, Bobby Lawrence, Roy Loughlin, Craig Kitchen, Premier Radio, thank you so much for what you do. The guy who originally got me into radio, God bless you, Tom Miller. My dad, who said it's not important whether you win or lose, what's important is that no one finds out you're my son. And all of you, God bless you and God bless radio. Thank you so very much. And my wife, Julie, I love you, Julie.
Ladies and gentlemen, we congratulate the newest members of the Radio Hall of Fame, Kate Smith, Gale Gordon, Jim Dunbar, Bruce Williams, Robert W. Morgan, and Rick Dees. And we thank you for joining us tonight. This is Casey Gage. Until next time, keep your feet on the ground and keep reaching for the stars.
The 1999 Radio Hall of Fame has been brought to you by Sears. A good life at a great price guaranteed. Promotional consideration provided by American Airlines, the official airline of the Radio Hall of Fame, and by the Hotel Burnham in downtown Chicago. Tonight's program was produced by Mary Scully, written by Ben Von Torres, directed by Dick Carter, music by the Georgia Francis Orchestra. Additional production support provided by Michelle McKenzie-Voigt, Danny Rostushka, Jim Guthrie, Tom Bear Cruz, David Elving, Sam Mazanis, and Fritz Dolman. We've just released the premiere edition of our Radio Hall of Fame trading cards. Check them out on the web, www.radiohof.org. And be sure you visit us at the Radio Hall of Fame in Chicago. The 1999 Radio Hall of Fame is a production of the Museum of Broadcast Communications. Bruce Dumont, President. Congratulations once again to all of our inductees this evening. Thank you for being with us tonight. This is Jim Bohannon speaking. Good night from Chicago.